Are you a real estate investor looking to elevate your income, freedom, and lifestyle? If so, optimize your daily performance by downloading our free guide, Raising the Bar, 5 Steps to Elevate Your Habits at elevatepod.com. In this guide, created by yours truly, you'll learn why you do what you do, how to easily institute cues in your environment to trigger desired behavior, directly applicable steps to create a fulfilling future, and much more. Get your free copy now at elevatepod.com and kickstart your new habits today. Your future self will thank you.
Welcome to Elevate, the masterclass where we dissect the elements of exceptional achievement and lifestyle design with a focus on personal growth and real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Tyler Chesser.
Elevate Nation, welcome back. This is Tyler Chesser. I'm so thankful to have you here, and I'm blessed and grateful to be sitting with the great Sergey Young today. Wow. Today, you're going to learn about how to expand your life and your health span. We're going to talk about how to extend your longevity, extend the years, and also add years to more years so that you can create amazing things. Instead of being ordinary, instead of saying, you know what, how can I design this real estate portfolio so that I can receive? It's also so that I can receive and that I can give, and so that I can live a bigger life, so I can impact history, so I can impact other people, so that I can do extraordinary things. And you know what? We were all designed to go big. We were all destined to do big things. So today is about mechanics of that. You're going to learn about how to expand your lifespan and also your health span today. You're going to learn tips, tricks, strategies from one of the most amazing individuals on this planet today. And wow, I just want to encourage you to buckle up. Elevate Podcast is all about mindset, mind expansion, and personal development for high-performing real estate investors. Today is a prime example of mindset and mind expansion, because your mind is going to be expanded. And what happens when your mind expands? Just wait, because that's when your life starts to expand. And wow, it's such a fun episode. I just had so much fun with Sergey today. I'm your host, Tyler Chesser, and I am a professional real estate investor and high performance coach. It is my job to decode the stories, habits, and multifaceted expertise of world-class investors and other experts to help you elevate your performance and lifestyle. Are you ready to take it to another level? It is time. Let's raise the bar. And before we dive into this conversation today, I want to ask for your feedback. What do you love about Elevate Podcast? What do you not love about Elevate Podcast? What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? Who do you want to hear from? What type of topics do you want to hear from us, whether it relates to mindset, mind expansion, personal development, real estate strategy? What do you want to hear more of from Elevate? So send me an email at info@elevatepod.com or send me a direct message on Instagram at ElevatePod. And I would love to hear your feedback. I want you to be a part of the future of Elevate Podcast. So please give me your feedback. What do you love? What do you not love? What do you want to see more of? And with all that said, also, I want to invite you to pay the fee. We ask, and I ask very, very deeply from my heart, if you will just pay it forward. Just share this episode and share this podcast with someone that you care about, someone that you know, someone that you respect, someone that you'd like to know better, someone that you'd like to learn more about. Share this podcast, whether it's this episode or another episode that you've been grateful to listen to. Share this podcast. The only way that we can grow is if we have people like you spread the word and help us spread the word. And we're going to continue to bring massive value. So that's the fee for listening today. We don't ask that you pay anything else. And really, it's just easy. All you got to do is grab the link, share that on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever. And, you could also send in a text message, or you could just mention it to someone at your next coffee meeting. Hey, you know what? I want to recommend that you take a look at this podcast. So there's many different opportunities to do that. If you've already done that before, we just ask that you do that again. The only way that we can grow is if we build this community. We want to invest in this community. And so we'd love for you to bring more abundance here. And so thank you for that. Also give us a rating, a review. We need that. It really, really helps us attract more listeners, attract better guests, and continue to invest in the quality and the content of this podcast. So please give us a rating, a review. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button or follow wherever you listen or watch podcasts. With all that said, I want to introduce you to Sergey Young, who is a longevity investor, visionary, and best-selling author with a mission to extend healthy lifespans of 1 billion people. If you just stopped listening to this podcast right now, all I got to say is, did your vision just get bigger? To do that, Sergey founded Longevity Vision Fund to accelerate life extension technology breakthroughs and to make longevity affordable and accessible to all. Sergey is on the board of directors of the American Federation of Aging Research and the development sponsor of Age Reversal X Prize, global competition designed to cure aging. Sergey is also a top 100 longevity leader who is transforming the world one workplace at a time with Longevity at Work, the first nonprofit corporate longevity program of its kind. Sergey Young has been featured as a top longevity expert and contributor on CNBC, BBC, Sky News, Fast Company, and Forbes, and of course now Elevate. He's author of the instant national bestseller, The Science and Technology of Growing Young, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and Publisher Weekly, and the mastermind behind the online life extension platform, SergeyYoung.com. Sergey is passionate about sharing news from the exciting world of longevity. And we dive into this and so much more. Also, his experience as an investor and how his experience as an investor allowed him to expand his impact in this capacity, because his passion is longevity. And he found that. You're going to learn about the story about him finding that passion and how it was at first a challenge that then became a gift. And now he's giving this gift to 1 billion people and perhaps even more. So I just want to invite you to buckle up and enjoy this amazing conversation with Sergey Young, the great Sergey Young. My friend, how are you?
Very good. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Look at the energy, man. It's you are living what you talk about, what you study, what you invest in, which is obviously longevity. And I would add to that, it's vitality. You're showing us vitality by that energy. Yeah. So thank you for that, Sergey. Before we dive into this conversation, if you were to describe yourself and the people that know you best and deepest would describe you, what would they say about Sergey Young?
Yeah. I always had a lot of energy. I almost have this like endless supply of energy from somewhere, probably from above. So, and I always thought, I just need to put this energy to work. And so the beauty of that is finally in the age of 43, back in 2014, I'm 50 now, I found the mission. And the mission is to bring affordable and accessible version of longevity to the world. That means change at least 1 billion lives by bringing them more healthy and happy years. So that's how people would describe me. Good friend, good father, family man. But I'm a workaholic. I'm insecure overachiever. Like whenever I achieve something, like the book, like The Science and Technology of Growing Young, published in August this year, Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today bestseller, #1 Amazon bestseller in 3 categories. For me, it was like 5 milliseconds. Yes, okay, great, success. What's next? I'm actually, you wouldn't believe it, I'm in a crisis now in terms of my next goal. So it's been almost 3 months since the book launch. And I'm like, what's next, Sergey? What's next? I have to have another mountain to climb.
It's so good that you shared insecure overachiever, because I think it's something for us to all be aware of, perhaps, that sometimes is that maybe there's a little bit of insecurity in that overachieving sort of personality that exists within many of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to not become one with that and be aware of that and, still operate in and maximize our impact on other people through that and use it as the gift that it can be. But I love that. And it's so interesting that you really arrived at this beautiful mission when you're 43 years old. So tell us about that. How did you arrive to this mission?
Yeah. So when I was young, I was always jealous with some other people's passions. I mean, not in a bad way, but like my friends, they would just go like fishing or they were collecting stamps. And for me, it was never really appealing to a certain extent. And I actually thought at a certain point of time in my life, I actually thought God didn't give me like the passion. Well, before age of 17, I was just like doing my school study. And then later on, I literally become adult in the course of one phone call from my mom when I was 18, and it was my first year at university. She said, "Look, it's perestroika. USSR is falling apart. We lost our jobs together with my father, and it's not us sending you, a certain amount of money to support you every month, but it's very likely have to be you like supporting the family." It was very difficult conversation for her, obviously, but again, so I started to work full time and study full time, and I was so busy with my work. Again, I'm a workaholic, which is actually one of the best tools and mindset for living longer, for longevity. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we will.
And it's actually, I think it was just Eric Schmidt shared with Tim Ferriss. I'm quoting him here. But then at the age of 43, I faced my personal health crisis. And well, think about this. This is very typical for all of us. We, like the first time we start to develop interest to human biology and supporting, sustaining, managing our health is because of the wake-up call, because of like shock that we receive. And that's unfortunate reality for like 80 to 90% of people whom I know. The story goes the same. You live in your life, have your family, you work, then something is happening to your health. It's usually significant deterioration of your health or health of someone that you love. And you're like, oh my goodness, like this whole thing exists. I need to manage that. I need to take care of that. Yeah. This body and mind, which were serving you every day, every minute of your life, is not serving you at the level that you've seen before. And so again, health is always important, but never urgent. And the unfortunate reality, all of us, and I had back in 2014, my personal health crisis, which made it both important and urgent at the same time. So for me, my story is not that dramatic. Actually, 40% of Americans and people in the world are suffering from high cholesterol level. So I don't want to sound like I was about to lose my life. But then when I saw a doctor, they were like, well, Sergey, this is not great. This is a serious risk factor for heart disease. Heart disease, by the way, is number one mortality reason for anyone above age of 50 years old or 50 years young, like I'm today. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Just give me the pill. So that's just another like a myth, right, that we have around healthcare. Everything can be solved with pills or with drugs. And I asked, do I need to take this pill like for a month or for 2? And I was okay with that. And he said, well, Sergey, I mean, you don't get it. It should be happening every day till the rest of your life.
Wow.
And I 43. Thought, okay, yeah, I'm 43. Why do I need to live on a pill every day for the rest of my life? At this point of time, I thought I'm going to be living another 40 years. If you ask me today, it's much more aggressive number. But I thought like I need to fight. And I mean, again, insecure overachiever, I need to fight. Everything should come to me with a difficulty so I can appreciate that. Nothing is easy. So I asked like, what's the alternative? And he said, like, everyone knows what to do, but no one does it. I'm like, tell me, what's the secret? Changing your diet, physical activity level, and supplementation with omega-3, some other supplements. I couldn't believe my ears.
Is that simple?
It was such a simple, yeah. And I actually had the discipline to implement it in the course of the next 6 months. And the quality of my life, quality of my health changed completely. I solved this cholesterol problem through natural means just by relying on the ability, on building ability of our body and mind to heal itself, not from all diseases, but from some of the simple ones, right? Your lifestyle-driven diseases. And I was so impressed. I started to share my experience with some of the people. So, and one of the 5 longevity buckets, like 5 things that I tell everyone to do today, not in 10, 20 years, is about having irregular checkups. Your medical screening day is actually the most important day of your life every year. I mean, if you ask my wife, she has a different idea of what is the most important day of our life every year. I have 4 kids, right? And I started to save lives. So what I've done, I send a lot of people to do their medical screenings. Some of them discovered cancer at early stage. And we're living in a world where early stage cancer have recovery rates of up to 90 to even 100%, depending on cancer type, not for all cancers. But while late stage cancer is like 20, 30% recovery rate. So you're very likely to die. It's like kiss of that to discover late stage cancer. So they all call me up and said, Sergey, you saved my life. Like, what if I would just wait another 2 or 3 years? The cancer develop itself in the late stage and I would die with like 70% probability. I'm totally cured. I'm recovered after cancer. The quality of my life is exactly the same. You saved my life. And once I heard that, I'm like, okay, this is why I'm here. This is my mission.
That's
this
awesome.
is I can pay back to the world. And it feels so great. And it's actually, I've been blessed that because of my investment experience, I can actually contribute to saving people's life without going through like many years and even decade of study and experience of becoming MD.
So the investment experience, let's actually touch on that if you don't mind. And then I want to come back to some of the other 5 suggestions that you were just touching on. By the way, highly recommend the listeners go check out your books, and we'll put links in the show notes. Of course, the most recent one, The Science and Technology of Growing Young, which, as you mentioned, is a bestseller across so many different lists. And obviously, some of the highest acclaimed individuals across the world have, written testimonials about your work. So talk to us a little bit about the investment experience, because, we're talking to real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and folks that are obviously using real estate as a vehicle towards creating and optimizing their lifestyle. And obviously we all have a reverence for investing. So talk to us a little bit about that investing experience and now how you've applied that to longevity research.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of private equity deals, and while my longevity vision fund is relatively small in financial industry terms, it's only $100 million. It's another insecure which you were behind this number. Yeah. Okay. So by the way, I wanted to set up a really small fund just to support scientists, entrepreneurs who are bringing this affordable digital technologies to the world. But I raised my 50 million in the first 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
And I was like, that was so easy. It's mostly on the back of like 20 years relationship with my LPs, with my investors, right? And I thought, okay, it couldn't be that easy. I need to raise the bar to fund it. But that's a funny anecdote. But
so within 5 minutes, you raised 50 million. Look, what type of offering was it?
Yeah, I knew these investors for like 13 years. Yeah,
they already believed in you.
Yeah. So I had my experience bringing a lot of returns to them. And I shared this kind of crazy idea like, well, let's pay back to the world. I'm not sure if we're going to make money on LVF. We're doing really good in terms of IRRs. We're making right now unrealized with average holding period of 2.5 years. We've done already like 33% IRR. Almost half of our investment portfolio are either public or going to be public in the next 6 months. So it's like half of the fund is already at the exit stage. This is great. But at this time, I haven't realized that we're going to be that successful. So I said, okay, I'm not sure if we are going to make return. I'll probably return your money. But in addition, what you're going to do, you'll have early access of what is happening in the labs, what is happening in startups in the field of digital healthcare, longevity, human life extension, improving the quality of your life. And third, will make the world a better place. because I'm working on affordable and accessible version of the medical devices and healthcare interventions rather than building something for super rich. So then this was a story about LVF, but my main business, I'm running more than $2 billion private equity portfolio all around the world, mostly in the US. Some of it's in the UK and continental Europe, it's been pretty exciting. And actually, we've done larger tickets in terms of our investments. It's anywhere between 10, 20 million up to $100 million for deals. And I actually do believe that making larger investments are easier. Because you were always investing in a later stage. It's either like existing property or land plot with a lot of value add that you can plan on that. I was struggling with doing like smaller ticket investments through LVF from $250,000 up to $5 million. So that's been the challenge. But otherwise, it was always helpful. And what I've done in the last 20 years was real estate development. Specifically in the US, we invest in affordable housing, student housing, some of the like commercial offices, properties as well. And but we do a lot of like venture investments as well. Transportation and logistics also is really important for us. And I always thought like, okay, I've done this in so many sectors. Can I actually do it in biotech? Can I do it like in medical devices? Because human biology is one of the most complex things I've ever seen in this life. Yeah, it's like unbelievable. You could. My first degree is chemical engineering. Second is banking and finance. Third is business administration. But.
There's that insecure overachiever again.
Yeah. Like I was actually thinking about doing the fourth degree, political science, somewhere in Harvard and Yale. But then I decided it's time to create rather than like to teach others, kids, younger generation, other generation, and share the best of me with the world rather than just spend another 2 or 3 years in university. But I actually, what I figured out, like 80% of investment skill and investment discipline are similar and applicable across the sectors. And you always need to have this like 20%, your industry focus, your industry knowledge. That's why I've been blessed with having so many friends, like you mentioned them, like Dave Asprey, the founder of biohacker, Tony Robbins, Peter Diamandis, the founder of X Prize Foundation and Singularity University, David Peter, and I can just go on and on. David
Amazing
Sinclair,
people.
the author of Lifespan. So I reached them out saying I want to do this thing. Like, do you know scientists or biotech entrepreneurs who can join my team and LVF and Longevity Vision Fund? And so I'm really comfortable with the overall investment process and investment discipline and portfolio building, but I'm really like new to the biotech and like human biology as well. And so this is one of the secrets, actually. Who was the founder of Strategic Coach? I should have
Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, Dan Sullivan. Like one of his books, like when you have a challenge, don't think how, think who.
Yes,
that's you asked me to read like the rules of success. I've done it. So with this, and I've been blessed with meeting this man a few times. So I thought, okay, my temptation is like how, like, and in human biology, like, think about this. If one single answer to our health or longevity would exist, then it's either Mother Nature in the process of evolution or scientists would discover that. So it's not going to be silver bullet. It's such a complication and complexity of things. So I actually thought I switched from how mode to who. I reach out to all my friends, and they connected me with brilliant guys who now are part of my scientific and investment team in Longevity Vision Fund. And this is how it's all started. So I'm still new to biotech and medical devices, but I've been blessed with a team who has decades of experience of looking at the multiple aspects of human health and the use of science and technology to help us to live 10, 20, even 30 more healthy and happy years.
Hey guys, just a quick word from our sponsor, then we'll be right back to the show. This episode of Elevate is brought to you by CF Capital, a national real estate investment firm founded by myself and my business partner, Brian Flaherty. CF Capital's mission is to provide property investment and asset management solutions to help investors like you maximize their returns by investing in high value multifamily communities. If you are looking for risk adjusted alternative investments in quality apartment communities, are seeking tax optimized cash flow with appreciation upside without all the hassles of management, you might benefit from learning more about investing alongside our team. You're invited to reach out and learn more about how you can invest with us by visiting cfcapllc.com. We're also currently offering a free ebook called The Bottom Line, 10 ways to increase cash flow in an apartment complex. Whether you're a new or experienced investor, we're confident you'll find massive value in this resource. So go get your free copy today at cfcapllc.com. And now please enjoy the rest of the show. I love it. And you know, you're inspiring the listeners in such a big way because your background in private equity and real estate investing has led you to this point now where you can have a much bigger impact, right? You've been able to create, you know, not only a track record with LPs, but you've developed this network over time that instead of saying, how can I do this? How can I do this? It's who can help me do this? Yeah. And now you surround yourself with amazing people. And so you're unlocking the secret code, right? You know, it may be complex, but you're unlocking this code with the combination of financial prowess, with the combination of elite networking, with the combination of passion. And so to me, this is very inspiring because any of the listeners who are building a real estate portfolio or even have developed and exited in a substantial way can say, well, what am I passionate about? What impact do I want to make? So let's go down this path. I mean, there's a few things. Obviously, I want to talk about the mindset of longevity. I want to talk about some of the things that you've uncovered, but you were talking about the 5 tips that you would have for individuals if they want to live a longer, healthier life. You mentioned regular checkups every year. Let's continue. Let's go down that list a little bit, Sergey.
So when we talk about longevity and our desire and willingness to live longer, healthy and happy life, there are 3 horizons. One, we're going to come back to that in a minute, is now. What are the 5 things that we need to do now? It's actually in the bonus chapter of my book, which is twice as long as any other chapter in the book. It's right in the end, after morality of immortality, the ethical implication of longer living. But like, there's so many things that we can do now. So let's come back to that. Why we need to do it? To stay on longevity bridge, to stay healthy and happy for the next 10 to 20 years, to enjoy, embrace, and use the technologies from what I call in the book, the near horizon of longevity innovations. Mm-hmm. So these are the technologies and scientific discoveries which will be available to us in the next 10, 20 years. And we can discuss that, but in very short, it's gene editing, gene therapy, organ regeneration and regenerative medicine overall, and longevity in the pill. New class of drugs that we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years, which will, focus on fighting aging and age-related diseases rather than any particular individual diseases. So, and there's something far down the road, which is 25, 50 years from now, and it's called the far horizon of longevity innovations. And this is where we'll redefine humans, where we will combine the biological approach to human body and mind with engineering or technological approach, and when man and machine will become one. So I'm talking about human brain AI integration, nanobots inside our blood, inside our body, Internet of Bodies, when we all, similar to Internet of Things, our body is going to be full of sensors, it's going to be interconnected, among each others and connected to like decentralized AI run, global health, human health management system as well, human avatars as well. This is really far away. This is 25, 50 years from now. The science and technology is important for this horizon, but ethics and regulation is important as well. So we'll come back to that. But let's talk about the most exciting part. People think it's boring, and you guys need to be prepared. What I'm going to tell you, there's 5 things I'm going to tell you. Some people tell me, like, well, Sergey, my mom told me that, but they work. So whatever I'll share with you in the next 3 minutes is the way for you to live 10, 20 more years. And the beauty of that is going to be healthy and happy years. So now I'm talking about expanding your health span, not the lifespan. So number 1, again, when I have 30 seconds, I'm talking about medical screening. Go to your doctor, say you want to focus on cancer, heart disease, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases. This 4 killer monster diseases. They're responsible for 90% of deaths after the age of 50. Again, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases. By the way, we don't know a lot about neurodegenerative diseases yet, because we face them in the later stage of our life, around 80 or 90, like Alzheimer's, but we get in there. So that's super important. So I do my test every year in San Diego, in California, in Human Longevity Center. But like, you can go to like Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, like whatever, like your doctor will advise you. And this is super important. And it's not a rocket science. Doctors knows how to check early signs of cancer, heart disease, diabetes as well. So this is number one. Number two is, go on.
And then Sergey, so when you're asking your doctor to advise you in this capacity, it's all right, can we catch this early, and can you advise me to be proactive against, these sort of circumstances? Is that correct?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Well, the whole paradigm of medicine is changing. So 20, 40 years ago, you would need to wait until disease will manifest itself.
Right.
Okay. Until cancer will, make your life just impossible, really, and unbearable. And then, that's why we had such a high mortality rate. Right now, you can be really proactive about this whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I know I have a risk factor of high cholesterol. So I'm checking my vessels, through ultrasound and ultrasound of my heart, every year. And they super clear. So it's high cholesterol, it hasn't resulted in something really bad. But I know 20, 30 years from my car, today's 50, it might be a problem. So I'm checking this every year. So that's important. And there's so many cancer detection tools that we have right now. We invested in a company. They use liquid biopsy to test for colon cancer. Liquid biopsy is using our blood to test you for colon cancer, and it's as precise as colonoscopy. Forgive me for using this word, but I was so happy to change the colonoscopy procedure, which is expensive, invasive, unpleasant. I'm really afraid of that. Right. To giving my blood and testing with the same results. And I can give you more and more examples how technology and science in the last 5 to 10 years made it possible, this early diagnostic for all of us. In a book, I call it DIY diagnostic. Diagnostic is just coming to our homes. So, and we can use, sensors and wearables. I'm look at this. I have 2 hands. So I have Whoop, I have Apple Watch. I just took out my Oura ring. I forgot it in the office. Yeah. Same. You can see, I have my levels, which is continuous glucose monitor right here. And it's such an enjoyable, amazing journey to discover relationship between your lifestyle, the food you eat, the wine you drink, your sleep habits and the impact on your own body. So use that. Yeah. So, okay. So number 2, what I call don't die stupid. And I borrow it from very good friend, Peter Diamandis. Sometimes we make very risky choices, and it's unfortunately, it's more relevant for men rather than for women. And that's why, in almost every country in the world, the female lifespan on average going to be 3, 5, sometimes even 7 years longer than males, because sometimes we make stupid choices, risky choices, right? Tobacco smoking, minus 10 years from your life. And I thought it's just irrelevant for US, because everywhere I go in the US, I could hardly really find someone who's doing tobacco smoking. 30% of adults statistically are still kind of doing it. I don't know whether it's occasionally or every day. So that's one. Not using your seatbelts. It's less of the problem for US, right? But I know countries, pretty developed countries all around the world, where it's just not cool to use a seatbelt on a rear seat. Minus 2 years from your life. Or, again, I'm 50. What is the a peak year for the sales of Harley Davidson? motorcycle.
50, right?
45.
45.
Midlife crisis, male, buying a motorcycle. This is like the craziest thing that you can do. Riding motorcycles is 17 times more mortal than driving a car.
I have a friend who's an ER doc, and he said, if you drive a motorcycle, I hope you're an organ donor. And I'm like, well, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're like, this is crazy. And you think it's somewhere there. It's not really my choice. No, it's yours. There's so many choices that we can make. Like, I have a very good friend in California. She's an amazing woman, entrepreneur. And I, like, 3 months ago, I got an email from her. Like, well, Sergey, she's a mountain climber, right? And she said, well, Sergey, I'm about to climb this August. She's alive. I'm about to climb mountain called K2. And I'm like, oh my God. You know what's the mortality rate for? Like, it's certain. I've been to North Pole and South Pole, and I've been offered to join the expedition to climb Mountain Everest, which is the highest mountain. Mortality rate there is 6%.
Wow.
So I told them, like, I'm father of 4. There's no way I'm doing anything with mortality risk of 6%. So the mortality rate for K2 mountain is 25%.
Jeez.
1 out of 4 across the years. And I'm like, oh my God, why would you do that? Okay, I can go on and on about this risky behavior, risky choices. This is really choices. Next to you. Yeah. Number 3 is your diet, is the food. There's a lot of disagreements in the scientific community what actually extends your life today. But there's only one agreement: decreasing the calories of your food intake by 15 to 25% on a daily basis. This is your way to add another 3, 5, 7 healthy years to your life. Well, it's easy to say, but like, how are you going to do this? So my life hacks, number 1, I'm like heavily like vegetables based in terms of my diet, because the caloric intensity of vegetables are extremely low. Like, I can have like a full table of vegetables right next to me, but I'm still going to be fine in terms of my caloric intake. Obviously, avoiding processed food, taking out all the sugar from your diet. And actually, the other good thing about, you don't need to become vegetarian, right? I thought I'm really sympathetic with vegetarian diet, but I'm not. But like, the quality of meat and fish that we have today in supermarkets is not at the level that we need to improve our health. Let me put it this way: because of the antibiotics, growth hormones, E. coli bacteria. 70% of antibiotics in the US is consumed by animals and fish on farms, not by humans. Well, that's why we have a big problem, which is antibiotic resistance. Our bodies are becoming resistant to antibiotics. And it was one of the biggest inventions in the history of humanity, with the highest impact on life extension. When we discovered antibiotics, I think it was back in 1926, but we started to use it during World War II. We added plus 10 years to average lifespan on Earth. And it was at the time when the average lifespan was like 35 years. So we improved it to 45 years. So it was big deal. It was plus 25% to the life of everyone. And right now, we just flush it in the toilet with consuming antibiotics in the form of meat and fish from, industrial farms. So
it became too much of a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. And then fasting, right? I'm fasting 36 hours every week. You don't need to do that kind of fast. This is really radical. I was working for many years towards that. But even just this window fasting, or it's called intermittent fasting, when you just fast for 16 hours while you sleep in the morning, and then you do your lunch and dinner within 8 hours interval. You can even squeeze it to 6 hours. So then you're going to fast for 18 hours. It works pretty well. So that's the thing. Number 4 is physical activity. And I do believe 50 or a half or 2/3 of your physical activity agenda is actually, doing your 10,000 steps a day. 10,000 actually is the artificial target from one Japanese campaign. It just sounded kind of cool in Japanese that they decided. Statistically, if you look at research, yeah, like anywhere between 6.5 and 7.5 thousand steps a day is a good norm for your physical activity. And you can integrate walking in so many parts of your life. And then on top of that, you can add whatever you want, like, weightlifting, yoga, stretching, cardio. Cardio is like super important as well. And number 5 is what I call peace of mind. Is a sleep, meditation and mindfulness, sense of purpose, your social realization, all these beautiful things, because you don't want to be, only healthy. You want to be happy as well. And as happiness is important component. So those are the 5 things that all of us should do. Again, there's no silver bullet. Human biology requires complex interaction and complex action plan. But like with these 5 things, it's actually distilled as 10 longevity choices. There's more details about this in the book. Plus 10, plus 20 healthy and happy years to your life, guaranteed.
And you're talking about peace of mind. I mean, you mentioned it earlier in the conversation today about being a workaholic, and there's a clue there in terms of the mindset for longevity. And you were talking about having a sense of purpose. Is that tied together?
Yes, in a certain way. That's a good question. Look, well, I think specifically like after COVID times or within COVID times, I think there's so many of us who redefine our relationship with work. Like pre-COVID, work was like a liability, was an obligation, was like something that we don't really like have a desire to do. Well, a certain period of time, like you start to miss your, peers, right? There's conversation in the kitchenette. And so I do believe just making sure the work is a substantial part of your mission is an opportunity for you to do the things that you really enjoy. And then again, you'll not be working any single hours in your life, and this is my case as well. In fact, actually work is like super important. So if you look at, I think it was written by Dan Buettner, the man who wrote the book about blue zones, the regions of the world where people have longer lifespans. He did it in his TED talk. He mentioned like 2 most dangerous years of your life. First, it is year of your birth, because we still have pretty high infant mortality. It's 10,000 percent less than we had 100 years ago, but it's still pretty high. And the second most dangerous year of your life is the year of your retirement. People lose the purpose, lose the social relevance. And we have this old kind of binary paradigm of full-time work, full-time retirement. Well, life is not black and white. So you can have your part-time job, your like community job, you just sharing your wisdom with people around you, whatever makes you relevant. And so again, this is really important because I'm driven by my mission, at least from the age of 43, starting from 2014. Like I don't feel that I'm kind of overworking. Though I have my 2 shifts, one with my private equity portfolio, and one my longevity, mission shift. And I'm still, always can find time to, spend a few hours with my kids.
So, Sergey, one of the things that I run into this when I have this discussion with other people, whether they're entrepreneurs, investors, whether they're just average friends, they say, well, I don't really know why I would want to live another 40, 50, 60, 100 years. Like, why do I want to do that? I think most people are like, well, you know what, if I'm going to do that, it's like, I'm just going to be older and I'm going to be more decrepit for longer and I'm going to be in more pain. And so that's my first part of, I want to table that thought process because I think many of the listeners may be thinking that in some way. They're like, this all sounds great and pie in the sky and all this stuff, but it doesn't sound great to me. So I want to table that, but I also want to table sort of adopting this mindset of longevity. So let's overcome that objection first. And then let's talk about adopting that mindset of longevity.
Yeah. First of all, everyone who's thinking like, what the hell are right. Okay. So 60 to 80% of people all around the world, I just give you the figures for the US and UK, they don't want to extend their lifespan. So that's the reality. So, and I still haven't cracked this code, I have to admit. So people actually tend to go very binary about this choice. So I know people who are like living longer.
Right.
What exactly needs to be done? Yeah, tell me, Sergey. And the other one's like, what the hell? You know, I don't want to do that. Like, any more days. Yeah. But then when you ask them, like, hey, are you happy to die tomorrow? They're like, no, not tomorrow. Yeah, but that's okay. So I'm like really mindful of that. And you know, I'm still struggling to find response to that. Let me just be upfront on it. I do think like, but partly like, you know, every time you just kind of disagree with certain kind of views, you just like need to find like what actually happened. So people formed this view. So underlying assumptions, like I'm going to be so this guy, this Sergey Young, and then all this like longevity community, they're going to add like last, you know, another 5-10 years right in the end of my life, where I'm in a fragile state, I require a lot of support, when I'm a liability, not an asset to my family, community, my country. So this is not true. We're working on expanding like a healthy portion of our life. It's actually called health span. So think about this, like I want to put or give you an option to put another 10, 20 healthy and happy years right in the middle of your life. And usually like when you ask people like, what particular age you want to be like, you know, extending, right, or age period. And people go anywhere between 25 and 45 years within this kind of period of their own life. So then this is what is happening. And in fact, what we've been doing so far, we've been trying to slow down aging. While discoveries in gene editing, gene therapy, we already know all 3,000 genes in our DNA, which are responsible for aging. And we can influence them. In fact, the animals in Mother Nature who don't have aging is a process. They're always young, right? They die from other reasons, but not because they age. You know, they have these genes working. So we can influence that. We're going to be reversing aging. We can like stop, you know, ourselves in, you know, any particular age. Again, this is, you know, far down the road, but this is like, there's just so many technologies we're working exactly on this, creating this option for us. So that's the goal, kind of right? One reason. Yeah, that's what you're working towards. Reason. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the second reason is like the best model that we have for longer living are centenarians, people who live like 100 years plus. And they obviously look old, you know, like for 100 years old, they look amazing, but like in relative terms, they look kind of old and not always full of energy, etc. And people like think, okay, you know, I don't want to live this kind of 100 years. We just need to realize that centenarians that we have today on Earth, people who live 100 years plus, are the wrong role model for what we're trying to do. They just been lucky in genetic lottery. There's 3,000 longevity genes that has been discovered. They work better in their bodies than the bodies of the average man or woman.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and this is what we're trying to avoid. So like 70% of their longevity is predefined by their good genes. So they've been lucky in genetic lottery. And this is exactly what we're trying to change. I want everyone to be lucky in genetic lottery. And then it's up to you to decide whether you want to live longer or not. But like knowing what I know, and I know it might sound a little bit kind of scary or controversial, knowing what I know about longevity science and technologies, it's not going to be like one day in the history of humanity when we will have to choose like whether you're going to be immortal or not. Life extension will look like the series of your decisions every 5 to 10 years, whether you want to use the new technologies and new science to extend your life or not. That's it. So, and by the way, it's a very difficult moral choice and dilemma. Like, would I be able to make this decision on my own? I don't know. I'm relatively strong man, at least psychologically. But like, would I be able to decide when I'm going to die in the next 10 years or not? I'm like, oh my God. And by the way, it's actually called suicide or playing God in the current world context as well. So again, this is because we have this old mental models of how aging looks like, and it's not going to be the same. Like, I remember I'm 50. Okay. I'm relatively young, right? I'm Sergey Young, but I'm relatively young, full of energy. Four kids. Yeah. Have another two. I want to have another two. But like, I remember my father back when he was like 50. He was just counting days. Yeah, I like my father, right? He's alive, right. He's a very important man in my life. But like when he was 50, he was an old man. He was just counting days until his retirement in the age of 55, because he was working in a chemical plant. So you can retire at the age of 55. But right now, I'm like 50. I have 3/4 of my life ahead of me. Imagine that. So the definition of age and relative age is changing significantly, which actually brings us to your second question. Like, can we have like a mental model, like a mindset to be younger? And the answer is yes. Do an experiment. It's actually, there's a separate chapter in the book called Think and Grow Young. It actually says like, people who think about themselves as like younger, they actually look younger and their health is better. So for example, let's look at my example. I have like multiple ages. Well, that's the beauty and it's the essence of today's world. So I have my calendar age. If you look at my passport, I'm 50 years old. I actually turned 50 2 weeks ago. So
happy belated birthday.
Yeah, thank you. So second, then, if you look at my biomarkers, so like I do a blood test and I look at like 44 different biomarkers out of my blood test. So combination of these biomarkers shows that like my body and my mind is 43 years old. So if you look at these numbers, they very typical for the men who are 43 years old, not 50 years old. So this is great. Great job, Sergey. You've done all these 5 longevity buckets. You're working on that. Great. So then when you ask me like, Sergey, when you think about yourself, like what kind of age you attach yourself? And I'm like, okay, probably 35. I feel like I'm 35. I know it's crazy, but this is not really unique. I know, just ask everyone on the road. Like in 70% of cases, people would have a different number in their own mind when you ask them like how they feel. So this is my psychological age. And then the other crazy number is my psychological age is 35. I tend to think that I'm 35. So my body and mind need to respond to that. I have a lot of energy, etc. And then my target psychological age is actually 25. So I need to think and try to be younger and need to be aggressive with this number. So like whatever, like I'll reach in between is already a great outcome. So so this is the concept of multiple ages that we haven't even seen or had 10 or 20 years ago. So, but I can go on and on about psychological aspects of aging, like in the course of 21 days, 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute in the evening, think about yourself as a younger man or woman and be aggressive. I mean, like if you're 50, just don't think you're 49, right? Just go like for 40 or 35 and look at the outcome of that. You'd be really amazed.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And, that's one of my favorite quotes. And it's by the late, great Wayne Dyer. And I just think about that so much. I think about when you're talking about this, I think about, the great Tom Brady. I mean, 44 years old. He is at the top of his game in the National Football League. I mean, the best. The greatest of all time. I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. It just makes me think of, when we broke the 4-minute mile, it's like our perspective is now shifting. And so that's why one of the purposes of this podcast is mind expansion, because when we expand our mind, our possibilities expand. One of the most fundamental thoughts in the human life, from what I understand, is how much longer do we have left? So now let's expand that. Let's get more inspired about how much longer do we have left. So Sergey, this is just so much fun. And I think we're going to have to do part 2, part 3, because we've got a lot to get to. But Sergey, I want to transition into our rapid fire section. I've got some awesome questions for you. This is the Rare Air Questionnaire. It's all about being uncommon. This is an uncommon conversation, right? 60% of people don't want to, consider this yet, but we're going to bring them on board. I have a feeling. So I got a few questions for you, being a prolific author yourself. If you had to point to 2 or 3 of the most impactful books that you've read over the past few years, what would those be and why?
Great. So James Clear and Atomic Habits. Greg McKeown, very good friend. He's been on your podcast as well. Essentialism. I like his effortless book he published in April, but essentialism has been in use in my office for like many years. For like every new employee is just going, or she's just going through that. So that's one. What else? Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. It's like before that, I was just using the sleep hours as an endless credit. I would just like squeeze in my sleep hours to like 5 hours and that's it. The rest is for, overachieving. But like after reading this book, my rule is like 8 hours in the bed, which is 7 hours of sleep. And I'm just trying to stick to this to the maximum extent possible.
Yeah, I'll put links in the show notes of those books. And I'll just comment on that too, because it's interesting when you wear the Oura Ring or other sleep devices, you recognize that it is about time in bed, because it's not totally, you're not asleep the entire time. So you've got to think, you got to kind of build some margin in there. So that was a great comment.
Exactly.
Any others?
And I can go on and on. Like I'm reading a lot of books. Like, and if you go to my office, like every time I'm meeting someone, I'm like, what is your favorite book? Tell me. And I'm like buying it. So I have a huge stockpile. I just been to vacation with one of my kids. I was so happy. I managed to read 3 books. I'm like in 1 week. Amazing. That's time spent.
See, this is why you and I are having so much fun, because I'm the same way. I ask that question selfishly in many ways to say, hey, what else do I need to be reading? So that's great. Thank you for that. Sergey, what's the biggest way that you elevate your life on a daily basis?
Daily basis. So interesting. This concept of like act of kindness, even the small ones. So I have a rule, like, every day I need to do at least, even a small thing, something good to others, right? And it doesn't matter, like, whether it's even like cleaning a lady in our office, right? Just, telling her something good, like supporting her, congratulating her, giving her a present for, and like, it can be huge, it can be small, it doesn't matter. Share the best of you with the world, help someone. Every day. And this is probably my biggest source of inspiration.
Man, I tell you what, the greatest people in the world always say, ways in which they really elevate other people when I ask them how they elevate their life on a daily basis. So I just appreciate that so much. Is there anything that you would add if I were to take it a step further and say, what's the biggest way that you elevate others around you?
It's really like just managing your ego, because all of us, we consider ourselves successful people, and definition of success is another 2 hours conversation.
Right.
But like we always, it's certain point of time, it's just becoming like me thing. Right. And just recognizing that and just, putting this really far away, right, in the box. And this is what I took from McKinsey. I used to work for like 7 years in strategic consulting and 4 years in McKinsey. Like they teach you to make others successful, to make them like shine, champions, and you are in the shadow. So let others shine. And this is like, it's been really like the best, giving the credit to like everyone, and helping them to shine, to be successful, to feel a success, is the best thing. And it's actually just an amazing way to leverage yourself. Like when your definition of success is your own success and success of one man or one woman, when the definition of your success of the others, you have another 7 billion people on the planet, and it's just enormous resource. It's actually coming closer to 8, but we'll discuss it in the part 2.
That's right, man. Sergey, I'm just so grateful for this. I want to acknowledge you for your tremendous passion, for sharing your passions, and for allowing us to understand, what we've got more to unlock in terms of our own health span, our own longevity, our own excitement to unlock and cover and give to more people. I want to acknowledge you for leaving your ego at the door, because man, you've been so humble in sharing your wisdom, your expertise, and you're continuing to expand your own mind. So thank you so much. Sergey, is there any parting thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with Elevate Nation today?
Yes. Think about this. We delegated all our health choices to other people and other organizations, big food, regulators, healthcare providers, big pharma. It's time to take back responsibility for our own health. You don't need to become a doctor, but your voice should be heard. You should be part of this dialogue. And I encourage all of you to go on the road of discovery of how our body and mind works. And on this, amazing road, on that way, you'll find a lot of aspiration, inspiration, a lot of great things that you can actually change. So I encourage you, 5 longevity buckets, change that, work on that tonight or tomorrow morning, and stay healthy and happy.
Man, thank you so much, Sergey Young. What a great time together. And I know the listeners can find you across Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Sergey Young 200, also on Twitter at Sergey Young 200 as well. And we have a special offer for the listeners that will have free access to the Longevity Academy, which is $130 value, plus 2 bonus ebooks, which are $20 value for those who order your newest book. Is that correct, Sergey?
Yeah, exactly. Go to sergeyyoung.com/book. Like for every book you purchase, we have this free gifts.
Man. All right. Well, we will put links in the show notes as to where the listeners can find that. Of course, again, go visit sergeyyoung.com. That's SergeyYoung.com. Sergey, until next time, my friend, thank you so much for being on Elevate.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys. Cheers.
Man, Elevate Nation. That was awesome. It was so cool to sit down with Sergey Young. And I just feel like there's so much more that we can learn about the subject of health span and extending our longevity, and learning about how that can impact other people, how that can impact this planet, how that can impact history. Because you know what, we can be selfish and think about, hey, what's the short-term gain that we can achieve and receive through developing and strengthening our real estate strategies and systems. And of course, those are beautiful things, but ultimately, let's elevate to the next level. Let's elevate beyond the ordinary. Let's be extraordinary. And I think that's what the topic of today's conversation was really all about, you know what, we can do more, we can be more. And we can do that through extending our life and through extending our health and optimizing our health and our energy and so much. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I want to encourage you to re-listen to this episode, because repetition is the mother of all skill. I also want to encourage you to share this with someone else and also have a discussion around this discussion. What was it that you learned? What was it that you disagree with? What was it that you agree with? What was it that you'd like to learn more about? Have a discussion, because we learn more through discourse and through interacting with other people. I also, of course, want to encourage you to identify what are your top 1, 2, or 3 distinctions. What's the one thing that you can apply immediately? What's one simple tactic or strategy that you can go ahead and apply to your life immediately? Whether it was through how you're going to expand your investing practice, or whether it's how you're going to invest in your own health span and longevity. was it some of the tips that Sergey shared that you'd like to integrate? So what are those? But most importantly, of course, the most important part is take massive action, because all of this is useless unless you integrate and apply. Take massive action. Until next time, Elevate Nation, I'm so grateful and thankful that you are here and able to listen to this. So thankful to be able to give this to you. Elevate Nation, until next time, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Elevate. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to elevate your results by taking immediate action on what you learned. For more, visit elevatepod.com.